Welcome back. China reportedly working to restrict the flow of rare earth minerals and magnets to companies in the U.S. with ties to the U.S. military through a new validated end-user system. This system, according to the Wall Street Journal, would fast-track exports to companies without the ties to the U.S. military, but it will restrict those connected to defense supply chains. This is sparking a bipartisan investigation from the House China Select Committee into Beijing's dominance and manipulation of the critical minerals market. Joining me now is the chairman of the committee. Michigan Congressman John Moolenaar is here. He is the chairman of the House China Select Committee. And Mr. Chairman, it's great to see you, and we also appreciate the work that you're doing on the committee. You've been warning that China's control of these minerals is threatening our economic and national security, as well as our industrial competitiveness. President Trump just had a meeting with Xi Jinping where we were told that it was, clear sailing, that China would not interrupt the flow of rare earth minerals. We know need those for our industrial complex as well as for our military. And now the Wall Street Journal reported this week, that in fact they have a plan not to send the rare earth to the U.S. military. Tell us more.
Well, to your point, the President Trump negotiated an agreement that would postpone their plan, which was really firing a loaded gun at our economy, restricting rare earth materials and critical minerals. And he negotiated a reprieve on that for a year. But right after the negotiation, as we saw, they're starting to release plans, and we're learning about additional restrictions that they're looking at. And so that's one of the challenges with China, is holding them to the agreements that they make. What we have to realize is when they put their plans in place in October, that's something they've been developing for a while. And what they know is that they have leverage, they have a stronghold on critical minerals, rare earth materials, and they are going to leverage that every opportunity they get. And as you point out, we use this for our military. We use this for our commercial activities, whether it's TVs or phones, computers. These are, tremendous resources that we need to lessen our dependence on China. And I applaud the president for stepping up on this. But we need an all-hands-on-deck in the United States to develop our capabilities and lessen our dependence on China.
Right, and that is why the administration took a stake in Mountain Pass MP, which is really the only company that's doing the kind of refining of these rare earths that China is doing. But, Mr. Chairman, what else can be done to stop Communist China from keeping America hostage with the refinement of these rare earth minerals? What do you want to see happen here? Because they make promises. They also made promises, by the way, that they would buy the soybeans. And I don't know if they've kept that promise either.
Well, that's the thing. We've got to keep the leverage on them to make sure they keep their agreements. But in the United States, what we can do is develop our capabilities. And as the president's doing, working with different mining, processing, we have these minerals, but we've gotten out of the mining and processing business for many years, and it's going to take some time to jumpstart that. So we need to work, Congress, the White House, the private sector. We need to work all hands on deck, even with our like-minded allies, to make sure that they cannot leverage these supply chain vulnerabilities against us. And the president's doing the right thing. Other things we can do is establish a strategic minerals reserve that would be similar to the oil reserve, where we can help these price fluctuations. Because one of the things China does is they undercut pricing. They subsidize it to the tune of $58 billion to undermine our efforts to become independent of them. So for our companies, for our processing, we need to make sure there's a price floor so they know economically they aren't going to be undercut by unfair trade practices that China employs.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And you've done a great job in terms of trying to resonate with corporate America, to force corporate America to understand these are national security issues. I mean, President Trump has led all of this in terms of ensuring that companies in America understand they need to put their desire to sell to 1.4 billion people in China aside and recognize what these issues are and what they mean for national security. I mean, you sent a letter to Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick yesterday. You are demanding more information on the company's underwriting of Zijin Gold International's IPO. This is a company that is a subsidiary of Zijin Mining Group, a Chinese mining company. It's on the U.S. government's Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list. I mean, how is it possible that a company that is on the U.S.'s Uyghur entity list is actually being taken public by Morgan Stanley?
Well, Morgan Stanley and their CEO face serious risk here in terms of financial risk, risk to their reputation, regulatory risk, because they are helping provide resources for this entity that's on the forced labor list that have been participating in the genocide, whether it's in Xinjiang, where they have facilities. They're also known for their human rights abuses in Colombia and Serbia, and any just clear evidence that, that they saw it should have been available to tell them that this was not a company they should be affiliated with. So we are requesting documents and understanding what kind of due diligence did they do on this, and how did they overlook the fact that they're providing resources to this entity that promotes slave labor and enabling them to expand that around the world.
I mean, the president has the America First investment policy. We've all read it. We know what the president is trying to do, and yet we can't get bipartisan legislation to prohibit sanctioned and blacklisted companies from China from raising funds, raising money in America, being traded on our capital markets. Our capital markets, the deepest and the most liquid in the world. So, Congressman, I recognize President Trump is taking, a balance here. He's trying not to push China into recession or depression or worse by yanking these companies off of our U.S. markets. But how do we just stand aside and permit American banks and asset managers to actually help these companies raise money by unwitting investors to simply move their Chinese underwriting activities to Hong Kong? That happened with cattle, Hesai, all these IPOs. They're able to raise all this money and fund the expansion of the Chinese Communist Party. Do ordinary investors understand that?
I don't believe they do, and it's time that Wall Street stops funding our demise, and it's time that American investors wake up to this reality. And that's why we're highlighting these things. We want to make people aware of it and have accountability for these investor dollars. I was shocked when I found out that our retirement for the federal government was invested in entities that were affiliated with the Chinese military-industrial complex. That's just wrong. And so now we're discontinuing some of these things, but it's a case-by-case basis, and we need Wall Street to wake up to this fact. And I think the only way they're going to do it is if they hear from investors. We don't want to fund entities affiliated with slave labor, and we don't want to help the Chinese military-industrial complex, because that can be used against our men and women in the armed forces.
Yeah, great points all around. Congressman, it's great to see you. Mr. Chairman, thanks for all your work on this. We appreciate it. John Moolenaar joining us this morning in Michigan. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.